Altex listed private schools firm Curro Holdings posted a net loss of 7.7 million rand for the 6 months to June, but said its profits would rise tenfold by the end of next year. The company noted that the loss was mainly due to startup costs and was not related to adverse conditions. The slight fall was not a bad performance for a firm that increased turnover of 117% to 79.3 million rand, with organic growth representing up to 31% of turnover. Curro is wholly owned by investment group PSG.
Curro market cap 854 million, price earnings minus 100 because of that loss and no dividend. And see, the thing that I buy the education story, I understand the education story. What I keep on hearing out there is that Yonatan, PSG, this is the next Capitec. And I got to say that worries me a little bit in terms of, I mean, the thinking is they're going to hockey stick their earnings at some point. Shouldn't we start seeing some evidence of that rather than just betting that Yanni's made another good call?
Yeah, I think it's very simplistic just to assume that because Capitec's been a great success, that Curro Holdings is going to be one as well. Having said that, the investment thesis looks quite good. They're going to ramp up the number of schools they're investing in from 17 to 40 by 2020 and hope to make 450 million rands worth of after-tax profit by then. Now, these are very ambitious targets. It's very difficult to find suitable premises for schools. They've got quite a strict criteria in selecting sites for schools. And then also, it comes with a whole lot of risk. How do you get the schools filled? How do you fund them?
I think getting them filled might not actually be a problem. We know that there's absolutely huge demand for private schooling.
Well, you've got to place them in the correct area.
The correct LSM, correct geographic.
Yeah, they look for LSM areas 7 to 10. They look for a large number of children between 5 and 14. They're looking for land that they can get cheaply. And then they've got to put specialized buildings on this land. That it's quite risky because once you've built them, there's no real other use other than the school.
And very capital intensive.
So very capital intensive. And yeah, there is a lot of hype in the share price. So in terms of investment, often, well bought is half sold. So you really have to try and buy companies that are very attractively priced relative to the upside. Now, there's lots of upside here, but I think a lot of that's already been priced into the share.
Okay, so I mean, at the end of the day, we also know that Curro has said the profits are going to increase tenfold by the end of next year. Do you think that, you talked about an ambitious target?
Well, those kind of forecasts, no wonder the shares price is a bit frothy. They're talking about taking
but
from
why
11 million
over
rand.
ambitious targets though, if you can't meet them?
Well, maybe you want to boost the share price. Who knows? There are a whole number of reasons.
It's that ambitious incentives. I mean, to get to what, 40 schools, they've got to do 3 a year for the next 9 years. To get to 400, there are a lot of if, buts, maybes. If they get to 40, if they get to 450 million of after-tax profits in 2020, then we're talking great numbers, and we're talking a market cap maybe of 10 billion, and we've got a 10-bagger. But there's a lot to do over those next 8.5 years to get there.
Yeah, I mean, 450 million operating profit after, net profit after tax would suggest about 5.60 rand in earnings. Put that on 10 PE, go to 56 rand. But you're right, they've got 5,000 pupils now. To get to that target, they've got to have 45,000 pupils. I think it is one worth watching. If you can time your entry into it well, on an attractive valuation where you've got some kind of downside protection in terms of valuation, then it's worthwhile having a punt.
Okay, so hot or not for you, Anthony?
At this share price, no, not hot.
I'm with Anthony. It's hot, but not at this price.
Okay, so where would you like to see it? If we do see it coming under 4 rand.
4 rand.
4 rand share.
Keith McLachlan says below 5. I'm more greedy. I want 4.
4, okay. And for you?
Yeah, 4 rand I think would be attractive entry point.
Okay, so the reason that you gentlemen don't think it's hot is because you didn't actually buy at the right time, clearly.
It's never been to 4 rand.
Yeah, I know. It was 850, right, when it listed? What was it,
actually listed at around 10 or 11.
10 or 11,
yeah,
okay.
It was an unbundling.
Fantastic. Okay, so now, Anthony, your hot stock pick.
Well, I'm not usually picking large cap companies, but
the largest cap almost.
Anglo American, I think, is just insanely cheap at the moment, and the upside potential relative to the downside risk is really quite exciting. This company's lost 30% off its 2011 high.
It's sitting at 286.
It's lost 20% in its value in the last 2 weeks. It's doubling production in the next 9 years. It has massively underperformed its listed subsidiaries. I think the fact that it's listed on the London Stock Exchange has punished it. There's been a lot of talk in London about nationalisation threat. We think that it's completely overblown, and I think nationalisation with anybody with half a brain is not going to occur. But obviously, it's affected the rating. We think that this thing is worth about 440 Rand a share. So there's about 80% upside from here, and that's a year out. I think that if it stays this cheap, it's just a question of time before Glencore makes a bid.
That was going to be my question. I mean, I'm not sure if the nationalisation issue shakes out in a hurry, but frankly, someone comes and looks at it, someone who's got bigger pockets than you, and says, I'm not going to buy a slice, I'm going to buy the business.
I think somebody who's prepared to make an informed view on, or informed call on nationalisation could come in and say, hey, there's some really attractive assets. Most of the growth is going to come from South America anyway. We think that there's massive synergies in existing business with Glencore. We think probably the only reason why Glencore listed was to do M&A. At this kind of valuation, it's a no-brainer. It's on a forward P of just over 6.5. You don't get these kind of assets and this growth potential easily at this price. So you will look back again, in maybe a year's time, 2 years' time, and think, why did I not buy Anglo American at 283 Rand a share? So we think this one is hugely attractive, and we've got 12% of the fund in this.
Yeah. 12%, and I know that you also, were you nibbling last
No, I was
week
buying
before?
Billiton, but to the point of a forward P of 6.5, I doubt whether Anglo ever in 100 years has been at that price.
Okay, so are you going to be thinking about buying?
I got so much
Anglo
Billiton at the
American?
moment, I don't know if I can. Maybe
There's
I
no
bought the wrong
space for another
stock.
diversified miner. Okay, fantastic. We have to leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us. Much appreciated for your time. A big thank you to Anthony Durham from Cogito Capital, and of course my co-host Simon Brown from Just One Lap. From me, Eleni Jarkos, that's it for Hot Stoxx.